Can you make money flipping land? The answer is a resounding yes. As a matter of fact, my wife and I have flipped over 4,500 pieces of land from the comfort of our home without seeing most of them, without using any of our money really. And land flipping is actually the hidden niche in real estate investing. And at the end of this video, you'll know exactly what separates land from all the other strategies and why land is actually better than houses. So over the last 4,500 pieces of land that we have flipped, we have designed a process that is cookie cutter and as a matter of fact has helped over 1,000 people already to become millionaires in the land game. So at the end of this video, you'll know exactly how it works and you'll be able to tell if land is something that you want to get into. All right, so let's get right into it. So first the question is, what is land flipping? So you probably heard of the word wholesaling. You probably have heard about the word house wholesaling. Well, in house wholesaling, what you do is you find a house that you can get below market value, and then you pass it on to a rehabber, and the rehabber then fixes it up and sells it. But in the process, by passing it on to a rehabber, you make some money. You mark it up a little bit, you make $10,000, $15,000, sometimes also much, much more. But you do a wholesale fee and you make money. Well, guess what? Land flipping is actually the wrong term for what I'm about to explain. Because we actually coined the term land flipping. Now you hear all these people out there talking about land flipping, but really, Michelle and I, my wife and I, we coined the term because when we started in real estate investing, we simply looked at a piece of land that we could put under contract, and then we could flip it to somebody else, and we said like, well, that's land flipping. However, in the real estate world, the word flipping has really been associated with fix and flip. So technically, therefore, the term land flipping is the wrong term for it. Instead, what would be the proper term for land flipping would be land wholesaling. So in other words, land flipping is land wholesaling. So in other words, what we do is we simply take pieces of land that we can get for pennies on a dollar, mark them up, sell them to somebody else, and we make money in the middle. Now, therefore, since you're familiar with wholesaling, you know it works for houses, you can imagine it also works for land. And there's a 5-step process to actually help you make this happen. And by the way, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you comment below with questions on this 5 steps as we go through it. So, step number 1, have you ever played dominoes? Dominoes, what happens is the first domino kicks off the next domino and kicks off the next domino and so on and so on. So the first step in the 5-step process is finding the right area in the United States to wholesale land or flip land. Let's stick with the word flipping land since it's already established. So the first step is finding the right area because in the United States there's 3,007 counties. By the way, this is a low competition way of doing real estate because everyone chases houses and there's about 2,000 to 3,000 people in the United States that actively flip land. That means, in other words, for every county in the United States there's one land flipper. That is crazy. That's like 1/100th of the competition that the houses have. Or in other words, for every 100 house flippers, there's one land flipper. So you just stumbled into or found here the absolute blue ocean strategy of real estate. But let's go back into the steps. The first step is finding the right area. Well, not every one of these 3,000 counties is actually a great county. There's some counties that are actually in what's called hypergrowth. Now, in a hypergrowth county, you will come across a lot of competition. And in an area with a lot of competition, it's actually much harder to get deals. There's also the opposite of that. There's a few counties in the country that are absolutely dead. Nothing sells, nobody's interested in moving there, everyone moves away from there, there's no demand for land. So stay away from those two extremes. So together they make a few hundred counties, so there's still 2,700 counties left, let's say, or 2,500 counties left. There's still just about one investor per county. It's crazy. This is the lowest competition method in real estate. So what you're looking for is areas where there's land in the approximate value that we focus on between $10,000 and about $500,000, where there's demand for land. So there's a certain amount of movement and volume that sells. So you can go on Zillow and see how many properties have sold, how many pieces of land have sold in that area over the last year. And if nothing sold, it's probably not an area you want to go to. If there's 10,000 sales, it's probably not an area you want to go to. But if there's a nice movement amount of, like, let's say a few hundred properties listed and a few hundred properties sold, that means there's a nice equilibrium, there's a nice balance in that market. That looks like a good area. If prices are between $10,000, $500,000 and so on, there's some demand, it looks like it's a perfect area to go after. We also don't look in the cities necessarily, although you can if you want to go after infill lots. We actually look for 3 kinds of properties. Infill lots, like think about the street, 35 houses, 1 empty lot, ready to be filled in with a house. Number 2, the path of growth, like basically outside of cities. And number 3, attractive areas where people want to go for the weekend, an hour to 3 hours away from a bigger city. All right, so the first step is once you establish your area, you now need to go contact those sellers. So we use a direct response strategy where we like to use direct mail to contact those sellers. Now, if you're already in real estate, you might think, Jack, direct mail doesn't work anymore because there's all these people sending out direct mail. Yes, in the housing world, that is true. For houses, lots and lots of people sending direct mail and people get flooded with direct mail. In the land world, that's not true. In the land world, in a well-selected county, you can get up to a 3% response rate on your mailers. Now, it means you send out 1,000 pieces of mail, you get 30 motivated sellers to call you back wanting to sell their piece of land to you. That's about 10x what the house investors get. So right here, there's a blue ocean strategy again. But why did I talk about the domino? Because here's the thing. You pick the right area, you now send out the letters, you also get the right responses back. If you pick a hyper competition or a no deals area, what happens is you either get no responses or you get flooded with responses, but then you can't sell them because it's all a bunch of garbage land. Don't do that. Focus on those properties that are attractive in areas that are modestly growing with all the parameters that I just talked to you about. And when you do that right, you select the right counties. Then when you send out the direct mail pieces, you get a great 3% response rate of people actually interested in selling their properties to you. Then next step is what you do is you go and find out what the value of those properties are. So there's 5 ways that you can figure out the value of the property. They're very, very simple. The easiest way is just look on Zillow what other properties in that area have sold for, comparable properties. Other ones, if there's no solds, look at what other properties are listed for. If it's large acreage, you sometimes have to adjust by acre. If there's not much information, you can actually get some information from the assessed value, the relationship to the market value. And if it's in the city, you can use the land value as a percentage of the house value. By the way, for all of these things, there's additional videos that we create right here on this channel that you can watch. Then just go look through the channel and find additional videos that cover all that information. So now that you have the value of the property, you make an offer. Oh, I forgot one thing. Direct mail is not the only way that you can get a hold of these sellers. Of course, you can also text, you can cold call, you can also do what we call blind offers, where you send an offer right away as the first point of contact. We like to use that 5th way though, which is what we call a neutral letter. And with a neutral letter, what we do is we send them a letter that's a friendly letter that is fine-tuned, every word has been split tested many times, that basically says, hey, call us if you're interested in selling the property. And that builds a personal relationship with that seller that goes a long way, that you can actually then have a conversation and figure out what is it really that seller wants, and fine-tune your offer, and your response rates and your success rates is substantially higher with that neutral letter than with any of the other methods. Okay, so now you send a letter, you got an answer, you figured out what the property's worth. Now you go and make an offer. Now typically we like to only offer about 10 to 45 cents on the dollar on these properties because again, we're doing land wholesaling. We're doing land wholesaling where we want to just mark that deal up to about 60 cents on the dollar and flip it. So you take a $50,000 property, you get it under contract for $10,000, you mark it up to 30, you flip it, you sell it for 30, you just made $20,000, and you've done that without using any of your own money because in essence, just like the house wholesalers, you just assigned the contract over to the buyer for a $20,000 assignment fee. Boom. Money made, no problem, no money invested, and that's what land flipping is. Last step, how do you sell these properties when you get them under contract? Well, you follow what we call the AIDA method, which means you go put this property out there on multiple different platforms. There's platforms like landwatch.com. You can also put it on Facebook Marketplace. You can put it on Zillow. You can put it on Craigslist for that matter. You can put it in Facebook groups. You can put it on many different websites. But you can also, of course, sell it through a really good land realtor, somebody that specializes on land. You can go and actually over time, what you'll do is also you build up a buyer's list and you can shoot out an email to your buyer's list and somebody from there will buy it. Over time, what you can also do is you can send out additional offers to the neighborhood and say like, hey, the neighborhood around it, does anyone want to buy this property? As a matter of fact, many of our students sell properties to the neighbors. And so there's many different ways that you can sell these properties. The easiest, obviously, hire a good realtor. Just make sure it's a good one because many realtors don't know how to sell land. And then guess what? You close on a deal and you made money. So now you selected an area, you send out letters, you got answers, you made offers, you sold the deal, you made money in land. And the best part is you did it without having to see the land, without having to estimate repairs, without having to deal with contractors, without having to deal, like we like to say, no tenants, toilets, and termites. So if you enjoyed this video, I have a great surprise for you. Remember the letter that I talked about? That letter that actually is fine-tuned and gets you up to 3% response rates? I want to give that to you as a gift. Very simply, just go to freelandletter.com and download it right there. See you at the next video.